It's Jill, your energetic ninja. So we are on to Friday's Focus, which is a strategy session that I'll share with you every Friday. Usually it's going to be around noon, but I was actually right around noon. I was doing an interview for a book all about unleashing your inner warrior and the things in your life that frame you and shape you and how they shift who you are and who you become and how you figure out who you actually want to be. So right in my wheelhouse, very excited to be a part of it, honored to be asked to be a part of it, and looking forward to sharing that all with you when it comes out in the fall. I am getting a notice that it's my 100th broadcast, which is kind of thrilling. Can you believe it? 100 live videos. I know lots of you have done more and lots of you have done less, and that's just kind of exciting for me to see that that's the commitment that has happened, and wow, that's amazing. So today's Friday Focus is all about something that I learned and that I knew all the way along, but having the verbiage around it became really important. So, I had a coach a year ago and he said to me, I was actually, straight up, you guys, I was complaining about my relationship to my husband and how I didn't like what was going on with it. I wasn't comfortable with where we were at and I wanted it to be different. And I'm like, what do I need to do about it? Like, give me a tool. Here's what's happening. Like, and I straight up, first call, we're in a group, we're supposed to kind of introduce ourselves. And I'm just like, here's what's happening. Tell me what to do. Like, there was no like, I'm not here to introduce myself. I'm here to get answers, right? Which is how I really kind of operate, if you know me well. So, or even if you see me here, I kind of, let's get right to the point. And what he said to me is powerful people make agreements because expectations create misery. And I was like, oh man, it hit me in the face, you guys. Like, wow. And as much as I knew it, it was the verbiage around that of expectations create misery that was like, oh my God, that is what's happening in my relationship. That's what's happening with my kids when there's issues. That's what's happening with some of my clients. I can see back to when I was in a corporate job. That was what was happening with my boss and my team members. And like, it happens all the time. And even now I know the tool, and sometimes I'm not making the agreement and the expectation creates the misery. So in your relationship, where are you having an expectation of your spouse, your partner, with your kids, and you expect them to be a certain way? You expect them to know something. You expect them to understand. You expect them to do something, and then they don't, and then you're disappointed with them, and then you're annoyed, and you're angry, and you either internalize it or you externalize it, and the loop, right? This happens in business all the time too, with clients, when you're a client yourself, with your teammates, with your coworkers, with your boss. Like, we have expectations of everybody. But when you figure out that if you make an agreement, A, it's powerful, and B, it doesn't cause misery, it changes everything. Like, everything. It is so powerful to operate from that place. And here's why. An agreement is something that two people agree to. I'm just going to take a look because I'm not seeing like if anybody's on or making comments. So if you are, I can't see what you're saying. So let me just get on my computer too and take a look. When I flip it this way, it kind of messes me up with seeing the feed of that. Okay, so right, when you make an agreement, it's between two people. Two people have agreed to it. Sometimes, I'll be honest, my kids don't always totally agree. Totally agree with everything I'm telling them they need to do. But they have to say yes or no. Like, they have to say, yes, I agree to this, okay? And when they do that, then now you've made an agreement. And what happens with an agreement is the fact that some people, the agreement may not always get fulfilled, right? And that's okay. But it was an agreement, and it's a pure yes or no then of did it happen or didn't it happen, which makes it clean and clear if it was executed on or if it wasn't executed on. So you can just have a conversation about what did or didn't happen. You don't have to have a conversation about the expectation of you should know. It was you agreed to this. Like, this is the commitment we made to one another. This is the agreement we had. So obviously this didn't work for you or something changed. So let's have a conversation about that, okay? But when you have an expectation, you can't have that conversation. Like, how's your kid gonna know for sure? Especially if things changes from one day to the next about what the expectation is. How does your spouse know for sure? Because we change. We change, we grow. One day it works, one day it doesn't work, right? How is your coworker or your team member supposed to know if you didn't clearly communicate what needed to happen? You just expect them to do their best. Well, what does that look like? Well, maybe their best isn't what your best is or what you think their best is or whatever. Do you see how messy it gets? And so the thing is when you make an agreement and a yes or no agreement with somebody, then they have to say yes or no. They're either in or they're not. And if they screw it up or you screw it up, you can just go clean it up. But you're not in misery because there was an agreement in place, because it wasn't a he said, she said, I said, you said situation, okay? So that's the deal, is start making agreements. So figure out where in your life you're having expectations with your spouse, your partner, with your kids, with your family members, and start creating agreements. You don't have to be really formal about it, like, Jill said that we need to make an agreement, so let's agree and make it all formal. You don't. You just have to get a yes. Like, I'll look at my kids and go, so here's what needs to happen. Your room needs to be clean. That's what needs to happen before you leave the house. Do you understand? Yes. This is what is expected of you if you want to this, and this, right? So I use the word expected of you. But they're making agreement because in the end, it's like, if you want this, and this to happen, then you have to do this, and this. And we've made an agreement and they've said yes, right? I had a situation last night with my husband. He works away. He's like the last few months not being really clear on his days at home. It's very odd. So finally I said to him last night, instead of getting upset, because he should know that I need to know when he's going to be home and how many days, because it matters with cooking, it matters with scheduling, it just matters because he's my husband, okay? But I very calmly said to him, I need you to let me know what the schedule is, especially when the schedule changes. And I also understand in your industry that things change, and I'm not going to be a wilting flower if you have to change the schedule. Like, I get it. We've been doing this for 12 years. But I'm like, if you know your schedule now, I need to know it too, please. Can you commit to telling me it when you know what it is and when it changes? And he's like, well, because I don't get why you need to know. I'm like, because I need to know. Like, that's all it is. So can you commit to telling me now? And he said, yes. And now we have an agreement. So is it an expectation before that I would think that he would know that I'd like to know? But now there's an agreement in place because he said, yes, I agree, I will tell you. And then if he doesn't, which is a possibility, then we'll go back to you committed to telling me. So please, can we continue with that, because that works for me, right? But it's powerful to have an agreement. So start making agreements in your relationships. Start making agreements in your business, in your career, with your teammates, with your coworkers. Start making agreements with yourself. Just don't expect you should, do more. Just do more. Like, commit to it. Make it happen. You said you were going to do it, do it. Like, I've got a group in the 90 Days Action Takers class, and like, they're committing to stuff on a daily basis. And I follow up, and it's like, you guys said you were going to do it, so do it. Like, if you're not going to do it, don't say you're going to do it. Like, make an agreement with yourself. Agreements are powerful. Expectations create misery. And why would we want misery? So that's our Friday focus. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed this. You will see me every Friday in this group giving you some sort of strategy session so that you can create and live the life you truly want. Remember that a life is a series of actions that you take. So with every step of the way, make sure you are going in the direction of your goals, desires, and dreams.